We've been told our whole lives, be more confident. You shouldn't care what other people think. Don't get embarrassed. They're not thinking about you that much. All comes into play with the spotlight effect. Sure, we all know we should be confident, but we're humans. It's human nature to be a little embarrassed, have doubting thoughts, not be confident enough. So let's talk about this spotlight effect, what it is, what to do about it, and how to understand it when we're persuading others.
Maximize your influence. Kurt Mortensen is the author of Persuasion IQ, Laws of Charisma, and the best-selling book, Maximum Influence.
Welcome back. This is podcast 521. Good to have you here. Tell your family, friends, and enemies about the podcast. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, and at MaximizeYourInfluence.com. That is a place to get to the archives, find out more information about additional training, InfluenceUniversity.com, and the place to take your free Persuasion IQ assessment. Housekeeping's done. Hope everyone's doing well, achieving their goals, becoming more persuasive, more influential, a better leader, more charismatic, a better presenter. All those soft skills we should have learned a long time ago, but now you're improving them, and they'll make a big difference in your life, in your income, and your success. Let's kick it off with the persuasion blunder.
Don't!
So I fly a lot, millions of miles across the world, and it's inevitable when you fly, there's going to be a medical emergency. And this is the blunder, how people react. And I get it, you got places to go, things to see, probably other flights to catch. People get tense, but this is a medical emergency. If there's someone on a bad way on the plane, we should be helping them out. So this happened to me again the other day, and it was just amazing. Now, again, I get it. There's a lot of stress, but people are getting mad, not going to make their flight. I mean, someone's dying, and the way people reacted would have never really probably happened one-on-one. We act differently in groups. If there was only one person in a room with that person having a medical emergency, they would have helped. Well, hopefully. But when there's a lot of people around, they're not sure who it is, how bad it is, they start to grumble. It goes downhill from there. It's called bystander apathy, to where when we're in a group, we act differently. When you pump smoke into a room and there's only one person in there, they're going to go get help. But when there's multiple people in the room, trained not to get up, a lot of times people don't get help because nobody else is. That's why a lot of times in car accidents, no one's calling 911. Are they bad people? Not necessarily. They think someone else has called 911. That's why if you're ever in an accident and you're coherent enough, you should point to someone, call 911. 2 or 3 calls to 911 is better than no calls to 911. So that is the blunder. Human nature 101, bystander apathy. When there's a group, we act differently. And that's something to understand. A lot of times you can lose control of a group. When people start getting stressed and what's going on, what's happening, they don't understand, and it just can grow from there. That's why, let's say in a business setting, you're a manager. There's 5 managers and you're one of the managers. And there's this big project you're working on, and you're the only manager that believes in it. You should be persuading the other managers one-on-one. If there's only one manager that disagrees with you and the other ones are on board, you should persuade them in a group. So the question, do you persuade a group one-on-one? And the answer is it depends on, have they heard about it before? Where do they stand? Is the group going to be for you or against you? Maybe they already agree with you and they can just nudge that one person, right? Social validation. If most people agree, it must be good. For the most part, that's how the human brain thinks. And part of the challenge, look at this medical emergency, the airline, the flight attendants could have done better at preparing the people on the plane for the wait, that this is a huge issue, that we do the same for you. Whatever the speech would be, could have really stopped all the grumbling. That's the big part of this persuasion blunder. And that takes us to our geeky Scarly article from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, Cornell Northwestern University's Dr. Gordon and Psychology Today. Let's talk about this spotlight effect. So this spotlight effect is our tendency to overestimate how much others notice us, notice our mistakes, notice our flaws, notice what we do wrong. And that's what we focus on. We think the spotlight's on us, the light's on us, hence the spotlight effect. And they're focusing on everything we do. And you know this to be true, but it's hard to wire your brain this way. The research is very clear that people pay far less attention to you than you think. I mean, you're wearing that new pair of shoes, that new outfit. Try doing your hair in a different way. Part it on the other side. Most people aren't going to notice. At least as much as you think. You see, the reason we experience this is our perception is skewed by our brain, by our self-consciousness. And when we get into a nervous type situation, or we're unsure of ourselves, or our confidence is not as high as it should be, we tend to overestimate how much they notice us, our actions, our appearance, dumb things we say. We just always tend to overestimate that. So bottom line, people aren't that observant. They're so consumed with themselves and what you're thinking about them, they don't have time to think about you. That spotlight is not on you, at least not as bright as you think. So what are some common examples of this? I see it all the time as a trainer in public speaking, giving that perfect persuasive presentation. We think everyone is just judging everything, scrutinizing everything we do, and they're really not paying as much attention as we think. Other than we mention fashion choices, your shoes, your shirts, your hat, whatever it is. I bet you could wear the same shirt twice in a week and most people wouldn't notice. And along those same lines are physical appearance. That zit on your face everybody can see. Do they? You're having one of those bad hair days. Do they really notice? We see this too with social interactions. If you make one of those social blunders like running into a pole when you're walking, tripping over your shoelaces, that unforeseen burp, whatever it is, you think everyone's noticed, but chances are they didn't pay much attention. Remember, most people are too busy with their own lives to think about this. They're so consumed that you're thinking about them and you're consumed about them thinking about you. No one has time to put you under that spotlight. In fact, I heard it once. You would not be so worried about what other people think of you when you realize how little they do. Because they're not focused on you. They're not thinking about you. And it was interesting when I was doing research for Laws of Charisma, how embarrassment played a role in charisma. I mean, obviously charismatic people are more confident, but how you handle those embarrassing moments. Because it's our human experience to find ourselves in these embarrassing situations. How you handle those. If you get upset, you yell at people, you use profanity. Hey, everyone's tripped on the stairs. We've all spilled food and stained our shirt. We've all said something stupid during an important conversation. That's just how it is. And when you own it, I think people actually like you more. Take public speaking, for example. I've made a lot of mistakes. And how you handle that's very, very important. We're all going to do something dumb. Again, I think your audience likes you more when you make a mistake and you own it and you smile and you move on. In fact, I think about my speaking career. I was speaking to 1,000 people, lights were on, I was the motivational speaker, cameras were rolling, and when there's a lot of bright lights, you really can't see the end of the stage, the platform, and I fell off on my back, and man, it really hurt. I've done it. Or that person in the front row with their fingers, they keep going up vertically. Yeah, my zipper's down, way down. I've tripped on the stairs going up the stage. I was 7 hours into an 8-hour presentation, took a drink of water, trying to do it quickly to get back into the presentation, went down the wrong pipe, and I sprayed the whole front row. I'd done it. I remember getting stuck in traffic, California, late, ran to the hotel, went to the room, went up front, right? I was one of the speakers. This guy leans over and says, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm your next speaker." He's like, "No, you're not. You're in the wrong room." Or the one, before I speak, I like to pace, think about my presentation, the intro. This particular presentation, they're like, "You're up in 10 minutes. Here's your wireless mic." They put it on me. They wired it. Made sure it looked good. Hey, I'm up in 10 minutes. I got time to go to the restroom. Yeah, I didn't know my mic was live, and it's always fun to have the whole audience here. And they're all thinking, "We know what you did." But you own it, you move on. That's part of it. So let's talk about this spotlight effect. Probably the most famous studies by Dr. Thomas Gilovich. He's the one who actually named it the spotlight effect. He did a couple of studies. One study, he put a shirt on college students with a big old picture of a face on it and had these students briefly walk in a room filled with other students sitting at a table facing the door. Now, this shirt was Barry Manilow, a singer. He found out that was a face that most college students were embarrassed to wear. Okay, it was a big old face too. And the other participants left the room. Then that person was asked, one wearing the t-shirt, what percent of the people in the room had seen the shirt, can recognize the shirt, would remember the shirt. Now, they all thought it was a study on memory. And what did they find? They drastically overestimated how many people would remember that Barry Manilow shirt. So it's not just tripping, burping, spilling food on her shirt that triggers a spotlight effect. It can be simple things like the shirt you're wearing. Then they took it to the next step. They went into the room and they had to talk about problems of inner cities for 30 minutes. And they were asked how the group would view their performance and the performance of other members of the group. And they were asked what they did well, and of course, any embarrassing moments during the conversation. And even with that, they tended to overestimate how much attention had been paid to them. So we focus on ourselves, our own appearance, our own actions. We're so consumed with that, which again will take away from your charisma, hurt your presentation, hurt your confidence, and your ability to persuade. We always have trouble realizing other people might not be as focused on us as we think. Now, it's interesting, part of the Barry Manilow t-shirt study, the longer the participants waited in the room wearing that shirt, got a little more comfortable with the people in the room, the spotlight effect went down. Even delaying the estimation process, asking the students questions about estimating the students that focused on their t-shirt, that also reduced the spotlight effect. So bottom line, they're not paying as close attention to your appearance and your action as much as you think. They're too busy paying attention to themselves. So you're not the center of everyone's universe. And I'm just going to say, people like you more when you spill food on your shirt or do something dumb or say something dumb because they've done it too. So when you find yourself worried about the impression you make, A, they're not paying as much attention as you think, and B, they're probably going to forget it real fast, and C, if you make a bad first impression, you can fix it, although I do prefer a good first impression. So how do you use this in persuasion, motivation, influence? It's just by understanding other people. They're focused on you and what you think, for the most part. So you've got to back up and make your prospect feel as comfortable as possible. If they're giving you a presentation, hey, give them some confidence, give them a boost, tell them they did a good job. Make it easier on them by asking questions and smiling. You can put people in the right state to persuade them, because remember, with persuasion influence, if people are in a bad mood, if they're nervous, if you've hurt their self-esteem, it shuts the doors to influence. Remember, maximum influence, one of the laws of persuasion, is the law of esteem. Bottom line, you bruise someone's self-esteem, it shuts the doors to influence and connection. You boost it, it opens the doors and makes them easier to influence. Giving them praise, giving them more confidence, saying nice things, anything you can do to boost their esteem so that they're part of the group, that it's a safe area, makes it easier for people to trust you, to like you, and makes it easier for you to influence them. Because your prospect is stuck on the fear of looking dumb or making mistakes or getting judged by other people. That could be their focus instead of listening to you and being persuaded by you. And when I identified that the law of esteem was a law of persuasion, that was the most surprising one. Really? Really? Self-esteem? And self-esteem's at an all-time low. We're not going to go into that today, but you have to put people in a safe place so you can persuade them. Having a better idea, the way you respond to a question or an objection, coming across as demoralizing or demeaning. I know you don't mean to, but just the way you respond to a question, especially with the spotlight effect, it could really pull people down. I mean, think about it. You've had a teacher or professor, you had a question, you raised your hand, and the way they responded, it made you feel dumb. They probably didn't mean to. Well, maybe some college professors do. That could be happening with you and your persuasion process. So take the spotlight off it. You can do that by highlighting the benefits of your product or service. Because you remember, people are focused on their own concerns. And if you can show how your product can benefit them, can solve their problem, help them make more money, save money, that could be part of it. Called the law of social validation. Just let them know, hey, people are going to love you. They're going to like you. It's going to solve your problem. You're going to be the hero, whatever it is. Keep the focus on them. Keep the focus on the benefits they're going to receive. Now, part of that, too, is the old WIFT. I use the T, what's in it for them. But as you move up the organization, you're going to realize that the T has other meanings. What's in it for the team? So if you're trying to persuade a manager of another department, sure, they want something that's in it for them, but they're also looking for what's in it for their team. As you even go up higher in the organization, what's in it, we'll call it the tribe, the company, the community. Now, if you can identify all of those, it makes them easier to persuade. Now, some people take the opposite approach. For some people, works creating that urgency, law of scarcity. So if you see the spotlight effect really cranking up their fear, their FOMO, you could use that, right? That FOMO, look, if you don't do this, you're going to look dumb. Well, I wouldn't go that far. This is your last chance. Sometimes a little FOMO there can be a good thing. Again, a lot of scarcity is abused, overused, but you still need to use it. It has to be real. You have to explain the why. Do you have to give them a deadline? Because we've all been through it and had a time where we missed out. For example, I was buying this new car and I'd worked it out being Mr. Negotiator. I'm like, all right, come back tomorrow. I'll get you a check. We're going to do this and this. Like, oh, no. Someone's coming to look at this exact car at 7 p.m. Right? Car dealership. I'm like, hello, Mr. Persuader. I see right through your FOMO, your urgency, your scarcity. Came back the next morning with the check and it was gone. So you can ethically use urgency and scarcity to kind of enhance the spotlight effect a little bit. And remember, the spotlight effect's tied to our self-consciousness. You could appeal to other emotions, so these emotions will go away by showing before and after pictures and cranking up that social validation, hitting what's called those greed glands, if that's part of your product or service. But the best way to trigger emotion, hope you remember this, is a good story. Stories persuade without detection. They trigger different emotions. They get people in the right state to persuade and influence. So there you have it. That's the spotlight effect. There's some ways to use it, not abuse it, understand it. Let me put it to you this way. Have more confidence, and when you do something dumb, A, they're not watching you, B, understand how to deal with that embarrassment. In fact, let me give you a few. The more you prepare, the more you practice, let's say it's public speaking, a presentation, your fear erodes away, your ability to handle those rough moments, that embarrassment is easier. I would have had pause, smile, roll with it, laugh at yourself. They've been there. They've done it. You can't lose control in these situations. If it's a social situation, you can prepare conversations, bring things up, topics to discuss, who you're going to talk to. So build that confidence. I know it's easier said than done. Maybe you want to rehearse potentially embarrassing situations. How are you going to handle them? What are you going to say when you make a mistake? What are you going to say when you fall off the stage? What are you going to say when your zipper's down? Again, smile, roll with it, have fun with it, and the person will probably like you more. Now, some people swear about positive self-talk, replacing those negative thoughts, those positive affirmations about your abilities, your self-worth. The main thing here is if you're visualizing all the bad things could happen, spilling food on yourself, saying something dumb, what you focus on tends to happen. And when that person or the audience can sense your empathy, your EQ, that you care, it's going to be much easier on them and to you when you make a mistake. Lighten up, don't take yourself too seriously, and learn to laugh. Develop a sense of humor. That was part of the laws of charisma. Smiling, have a sense of humor. Being able to laugh at yourself is one of the best ways to handle and diffuse an embarrassing situation. And a sense of humor. Go to the archives. You can understand more about the sense of humor. Makes you more likable, more trustworthy, puts people in a better mood, and again, easier to persuade. So there you have it. That's a wrap. Another episode of Maximize Your Influence. Take something that you learned today, apply it, use it, understand the spotlight effect for you and as you persuade others. The special of the week. Just click on the link in your email or go to podcast 521 at Maximize Your Influence is influenceuniversity.com. It's usually a monthly membership, but now you can get a lifetime membership for $97 by clicking on the special link to get pretty much everything I've ever created. From the 52-week persuasion program to persuasion software that persuades for you, audios, videos, a searchable library, everything you need in one place. Check it out. Click on the link or go to influenceuniversity.com/special to get your lifetime membership. So again, don't say that was nice. Take something that you need to fine tune, that you need to change, that you need to improve, do it, become more influential, more charismatic, and go out and persuade with power.